The topic of the day is vetting a carrier. Vetting a carrier. This is so important. Like I was telling you earlier, brokerage called up. They shared a story about how they were scammed. And that has brought up the point of what we're going to be talking about today, vetting a carrier. Okay, first of all, whenever you're a carrier, you're setting up a carrier. Okay, first of all, you're going to send the carrier, as a broker, you're going to send the carrier your carrier packet. It's going to have all the necessary paperwork, the broker carrier agreement. It's going to have your broker authority, copy of your bond, always include a blank W-9. That's just to remind the carrier they got to send me a completed W-9. That goes back to the old days of the fax. I still do it. The carrier is going to sign your agreement, send it back to you with their authority, their insurance, and their completed W-9. Now, these documents, I don't need anybody posting or sending me emails saying, hey, there's a lot more. Man, this is basic stuff, the basics, okay? All right, so what do? You've got the package back from the carrier. What should you do? You've got to check it out. First thing you want to do, look at the contract. Make sure it's signed, it's initialed, that nothing's been marked out, nothing's been added to it, making sure everything is as it should be. Don't make the mistake of not checking out the contract. If the trucking company has added anything to that contract, or if the trucking company has actually marked something out, call the dispatcher. Tell them, hey, we can negotiate the load all day, but the broker-carrier agreement, it is what it is. It's not negotiable. I've done that a handful of times in over 20, 25 plus years with the carrier. Never lost a truck. Never. They always said, okay, I'll send you a new one and I won't mark it up. So you get that straight right off the top. Next thing you want to do is check the carrier out via the FMCSA website. Check them out. You can go to the FMCSA website. It's called SaferWeb. Run the MC number or the DOT number, whichever you have. Look at their company snapshot. Make sure everything for that trucking company matches what you know about that trucking company to be true. And what I'm talking about is the broker that has had contact with that trucking company. You were doing the deal, the negotiation. You were the one that brokering the load to that trucking company. You want to make sure everything matches. If that trucking company said something like, yeah, man, it's rained all weekend up here in Chicago, and you pull up that trucking company information and they're in Oklahoma City, the trucking company is, according to the company snapshot, there's got to be a phone number on the company snapshot page for that trucking company. Call them. Call that number. Verify that they have somebody in Chicago authorized to get loads for their trucks. One simple phone call. I've made 1,001 of these calls and never, ever ran into a situation. But I've got a couple of clients that didn't, and this brokerage that called me this morning, they didn't. They got scammed. They got scammed. I'm not going to explain to you how the scam works for obvious reasons, but they got scammed. But if you do these checks and balances when you're vetting a carrier, you'll avoid a lot of this. This is one of the things you can do. Now, the other thing you're going to be looking at is the insurance. Trucking company, more times than not, going to be using what is known as an Accord, A-C-O-R-D. Whenever you hear anyone talking about a Accord, they're talking about the proof of insurance for the trucking company or whatever the entity may be. Don't just look at it. Down in the bottom left-hand corner, it says certificate holder. Yeah, you want your brokerage information to be in that box, but if it's already there, don't just toss it aside like, okay, we're good to go. Contact the insurance company. Call them. Up in the top left, right under where it says Accord on the insurance Accord for that carrier, it's going to say producer, and it's going to give you all the information for that insurance company up there in that box. Call that phone number. Follow the instructions for being added. You want the Accord showing you as certificate holder. You want that Accord coming from the insurance company, not the trucking company. It's too easy to Photoshop things nowadays. People do it all the time. Check it out. Yeah, I even had a trucking company a while back using Photoshop. They took off one of the extra stops and just delivered the whole load to the final destination. Factoring company went to invoices, and their invoice showed it was missing a stop, or what paperwork they submitted. But anyway, got all that straightened out. The trucking company, they suffered the consequences, obviously. Now, something else. Take this one step further. Call your customer. Let them know the name of the carrier that should be picking up the load. Tell them if another truck shows up to pick up that load, the name of the trucking company that you told them should be picking up the load. If a trucking company shows up or a truck from another trucking company shows up, they should not load that truck until they speak to you first. That's how you keep from being double brokered. See what I mean? Or scammed. These few simple steps, it's just going to protect you, give you a lot more protection on being scammed or double brokered when you're working with the load. And I really recommend you do that. This company today, the way they talked, they were scammed over $100,000 or right at. And now there is a fraud investigation going on. And it's going to be a nightmare. It's probably going to take a year or more to resolve, if it ever is. Now, if you'd like to learn more about Tautoa, check us out, tautoa.com. This is how we help brokers. This is how we train. Most of our packages, we have the basic, the standard, and the freight broker packages. And the freight broker packages, they are designed for somebody actually starting their own freight brokerage. Maybe their brokerage is already going. But what I'm getting at, they're somebody that knows they're going to be starting their own freight brokerage if it isn't already started already. But they're going to have it going within the next 3 to 6 months. Because those packages include our standard 12-month consulting for a freight brokerage company. Now, if you want to start out as an agent, and even the freight broker packages, if you are wanting to start out as an agent, it does provide you the opportunity to do that as well. But if you're wanting to be an agent, you have no desire, or at least not at this time, you're not thinking about starting a freight brokerage in the next 3 to 6 months. Yeah, we have packages for you. These packages include in-depth training and essential in-depth hands-on training. When I say hands-on, you're going to be working with the actual programs, tools, software you're going to be using when you actually begin your broker operation as an agent. Now, when you complete your training, you will be able to enter our mentorship program. That's where you're going to be able to begin your broker operation as a freight broker agent through us under our licensed brokerage. And yes, it is a paid position. You will be working as a freight broker agent. You will be on commission basis, just like any other freight broker agent with any other freight brokerage. Everybody always wants to know, what's the commission? It's 60% of net. Net is the difference between what the customer paid you to move a load and what you paid the truck. Okay? The profit on the load. But Understand that the whole purpose of the mentorship program is to provide you with the opportunity to begin your broker operation so you can get out there, start getting the experience and building a customer base. The customer base, that's mandatory. You've got to have a customer base. The more customers, the more loads you have available. The more loads you have available, the quicker you'll get out of the startup period. Startup period is what I refer to it. The point where you're just starting your broker operation and you're building the customer base. You got to stay on the phone. You got to be making those sales calls. You've got to be gaining the experience, building the customer base, as hard as you can and you got to continue doing that until you don't have time to do it anymore because you're too busy with all the loads you are working currently. I always get asked this question, Mike, what do I do when I got too many customers? That's not a problem. That's a good thing. Hire somebody to help you. You get the idea? Anyway, learn more about our packages and our programs, our consulting. Go to Taltoa, TALTOA.com. Look over the packages. If you have any questions about the packages, call me, 479-668-0838. Understand we're working with clients doing sales calls, or not sales calls, but working with clients, doing conference calls, training sessions and such throughout the day. So it's not out of the ordinary to get a voicemail. So if you get a voicemail, leave a message. We're usually able to call you back within an hour. But that number again is 479-668-0838.